Hello, I'm Rex D'Agostino with Green Futures Incorporated, and we're based in Allentown, Pennsylvania. You've obviously decided to look at this video clip based upon key words, such as peak oil or sustainability, alternative energy, wind and solar and biomass, depletion of resources. What I'd like to do today is present to you the concept of a national six-sided crisis. And each side of this crisis is unique but interrelated to the whole. Firstly, we talk about growth and debt problems within the United States. We could also discuss the food and water resources in this nation and how they're becoming depleted. Obviously, climate change is not only a national problem, but an international one affecting the entire planet. We could talk about a cultural and sustainable IQ for the American people, a people of consumers rather than conservers. Another issue in this hexagon is waste management, and finally, and very significantly, peak oil. I'd like to present the idea of providing to your organization a seminar which starts out with a discussion of peak oil and discusses those five other topics and talk about not only the problem, but potential solutions and policies that could be provided to obviate each one of those problems. So whether you're a social organization, a corporation, or a state and municipal government body or policymaker, I believe we have a program here that would be of some interest to you. Let me give you a general overview and move forward from that. The bottom line is that this country and the world is addicted to oil. This can be described by a peak oil curve which was generated by M. King Hubbard back in the 1950s. Mr. Hubbard believed that at some point in time, the amount of production of oil in the United States was going to be less than that amount that was consumed. That prediction came true in the 1970s, and obviously the U.S. is importing significantly more oil than it's able to provide within the country. The question is, on an international basis, what happens and when will it happen when peak oil occurs? Another part of the topics that we will be discussing is energy return on energy investment. This is a topic which needs to expose all the renewable energies and energy sources that we are currently assuming would obviate or assist in oil depletion, and we need to inspect this equation as a function of the type of technology that we're using, whether it's solar, biomass, E85 ethanol, or what have you. And these equations need to inspect the performance of each of these technologies without any political ramifications added to the equation. Here's an example of some of the data that we'll present to you in significant detail. We note that in the United States in 2008, we used about 99 quads of energy broken out by these particular sources. We will look in detail at petroleum and the impact of petroleum on the sectors to which it is supplied. Obviously, transportation being most significant in this particular case. And we'll take a look at this data on an annual basis to show where our energy is going. And most importantly, how do we mitigate the use of this particular material for these particular sectors? 7% of the entire energy portfolio in the United States is currently described as renewable energy, and these technologies such as hydropower, wood, biofuels, and so forth all contribute to that 7%. First of all, this number is way too low, and significantly the technologies that are currently being offered on a commercial basis are insignificant in their contribution. We need to improve this. How do we do it? What kind of policies should we have at the federal and state level? An example of the impact of oil and the depletion of it can be described very significantly by taking a look in 2006 at the number of motor vehicles on U.S. highways. In a sense, we are traveling with one vehicle per person in the United States, and we're consuming approximately 175 billion gallons of gasoline per year. What happens when this price of gasoline goes from $3 a gallon to $5 or $6 or $10? The impact it will have on our society and our day-to-day business operations will be extremely significant. How do we deal with this particular situation? We'll discuss that. Relative to when peak oil will occur, we will present to you the data from a very strong group of individuals who've dedicated their lives to the petroleum industry and give you the backup data which strongly urges you to consider their date as when peak oil will occur. The key fact that I'd like to present to you today is that we have a worldwide crisis and we may be misjudging when it will occur. This could be a serious problem, and we would like to present this in a way that you will be able to form your own opinions as well as programs to adjust to this particular situation. One key alternative is obviously alternative energy, and we'll talk about its deployment by technology as a function of energy return on energy investment. We obviously don't want to retrogress from the cultural lives that we live at the current time, and we need to address these problems at all levels of government. We'll talk in the form of definitions and explain how these data are collected and how they are managed. Here is a map of the federal highway system that the U.S. Congress is expecting to fund over the next 10 to 15 years. We'll talk about this as a function of oil depletion and whether our policies are thought-provoking and expected to be successful. We will also talk about the various programs that the federal government employed over the last 20 to 30 years. Everything from technology development to conflicts throughout the world to the application of funding for renewable energy, as well as our recreational budgets. And we'll think and look at how we're spending our money and what policies are we following that may or may not mitigate the problem. This planet that we live on operates under a set of rules. Those rules are immovable relative to mankind. We live by a set of rules that either or both operate under what's called Newtonian mechanics as well as thermodynamics. We're going to discuss this in terms that are understandable to give you an idea as to your personal or corporate energy portfolio and whether or not the policies that you currently operate under will be long-standing or need to be adjusted. The end of cheap oil is here at $70 a barrel currently, moving northward, will continue to rise to the point where it's going to affect every citizen, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. From the perspective of this particular crisis, the entire world needs to communicate together, to be in communion with each other relative to solving this addiction problem. We'd like to present some policies and actions that are suggested to be looked at as possible mitigating alternatives. But it's got to be done on an international basis, not as an island. If this and other topics that we discussed have some interest to you, we'd be more than happy to make a presentation to your group. All we ask is you either call us or email us, and we'll set up a date and time and a location that's convenient for you, and we'll spend some time together getting educated and developing an understanding in order to formulate the appropriate energy policy for your organization. Thank you for your time.